This is the #1 potato boss, bringing you the spoiler spotlight. This is a seasonal series where we go over some of the recent spoilers, and this time it's for the Opus 4, which is just a couple weeks away. Without further ado, let's get straight into it. First up is a Bahamut, 4 CP Fire Summon. Choose one forward, deal it 8000 damage. When it is put from the field into the break zone this turn, remove it from the game instead. As soon as we got the Kai spoiler earlier, everyone was itching to see what the new Bahamut was gonna be. And obviously, this Bahamut works great with Caius. It can search for it and can be discarded for Caius' ability. But the card itself is great as well. You got a solid 8k damage on a forward, and also if it's broken that turn, you remove it from the game. This is great for Legendary Renoa to stop the dulling, Legendary Zack to stop when searching for a new cloud, Legendary Gobez to stop the onslaughts. Needless to say, even if Caius is not running the deck, this card is going to battle for a spot in your deck with Brynhilder. The downside is that, unlike Brynhilder, it's not an EX burst, but man, it interacts great with the Rare Fang from Opus 1, which makes it just a 2 CP 8k burn, which is just insane. Also, if you run Ice, you can also Devout the Fang or even use Mach 13 to search for Fang or Caius. I expect to see a Final Fantasy 13-esque Fire Ice deck list. Okay, next up is Sid Randall. Sid Randall is a 4 CP 8000 power Ice forward, which says if you control a card named Remedy, Sid Randall gains 1000 power. When your opponent plays a forward to the field, it is dulled if your opponent does not pay 1 CP. I like to refer this card as the poor man's Ultimecia and Ice. This card can really tax aggro players and is also a very good devoutable target with a very strong body in it itself, especially with Remedy and Drew Clark. This is really good at controlling the board, which is better than Ultimecia in a lot of ways, because it is cheaper, devoutable, and only affects your opponent's forwards, whereas Ultimecia affects both your forwards and your opponent's forwards. But the downside is that it gives your opponents the option to pay 1 CP, so if they have lethal in that turn, they're more than happy to pay the extra CP, although it is still strong because it is a separate trigger, so they cannot discard 2 cards for a 3-drop forward and keep him active on that turn. They have to pay an extra 1 CP. Next up is Mowgli. Mowgli is a 4 CP 6000 power wind forward, which reads simple enough: when Mowgli enters the field, draw 1 card. When Mowgli is put from the field into the break zone, draw 1 card. This is a card which, along with the New Hope and Opus 4, is going to make Mono Wind a very strong deck. Wind is a very efficient element. This extra 2 card draw on a forward is going to be really relevant and make it so Wind is able to go even wider than Mono Water and Water Wind than it's currently able to do now. The only wind cards that make a draw a card in Mono Wind is the S ability on Hero Rikyu. Also, the new Alexander in Opus 4 allows you to draw a card as well. Mono Wind is going to be a force to be reckoned with come Opus 4. Also, this forward is a Moogle. The first Moogle forward, excluding the rare Bards, who's also a Moogle, a Knight, a Pirate, a Mother, a Lamp. Anyways, this is a cool little side note because those Moogle decks that want to efficiently burn with Mont Blanc can do 7k in one go now. Next up is the Hero Earth card, another Prish. Prish is a 2 CP 5000 power forward, which is a little under the curve. If you control 4 or more Earth backups, Prish gains 2000 power and Brave. When Prish is put from the field into the break zone, you may pay 1 Earth CP and play 1 card named Prish from your hand onto the field, dull. I was already thinking of running a Prish combo with the new Ritz to stop my forwards from being bounced back to my hand to keep Prish on the field, because let's be honest, that is one of the main reasons why people do not play 5-drop or larger forwards that do not give you instant value, because against water, a Leviathan can ruin your day, but not with Ritz. It is also too early to say how strong this Earthwind Prish deck will be, but people are definitely going to try it out. I also feel like you don't have to feel pressured to play the 4 Earth backups. It's a nice effect, but most of the time you want your other Prish in the field. It also has other great synergy in Wind with Asura. You can actually pick up this 2-drop Prish from your break zone and use Prish's other S abilities without having one in hand. And also, if they kill your 6-drop Prish, surprisingly, then you're able to use Asura to bring the 2-drop Prish back to your hand and at least get something in with the ability from the 6-drop Prish. Next up is Beatrix. Beatrix is a 3CP 7000 water forward, which is also a knight. If you control a card named Steiner, Beatrix gains 1000 power and the ability Beatrix does not receive damage from opponent's abilities. When Beatrix attacks, until the end of the turn, all your opponent's forward power are reduced by 1000 power. It always seems like water just gets everything, doesn't it? Obviously, this Beatrix has great synergy with the 9 package, in particular the Steiner, which can also make this deck much more aggressive with the 1k power reduction on attack, which can be comboed with Cagnozo and Cuchulain. I like the contrast with Legendary Garnet and this Beatrix, as Legendary Garnet is unable to be chosen by opponent summons, and Beatrix with Steiner is unable to be damaged from opponent's abilities, which is huge because it makes it so that you have to kill an 8k, possibly 9k forward with a summon or combat, which is not always possible, without ping available from other characters' abilities. Also, this ability makes it so that she cannot be targeted by Alcid. This card is going to be difficult to get rid of, with Steiner being the weakest link. And the most exciting part, actually, is that she is a knight. I am so glad there's going to be more knight synergy in Opus 4. Okay, the next spoiler is probably the best Earth spoiler so far. It is the first Earth monster that we know of, and it's called Magic Pot. Magic Pot is a 1CP Earth monster and reads, Magic Pot enters the field dull. If you pay 1 Earth CP and dull Magic Pot, then put it and 1 forward into the break zone, search for 1 forward with the same name as the forward you put into the break zone, and play it onto the field. You can only use this ability during your turn. We are definitely going to go more in depth in our next podcast about the cool little interactions with Hope, X-Death, Emperor Zande, and more. But for now, let's look at the overall types of plays that this opens up. Immediately, the first one that comes to mind, which is right now the king of the Magic Pot, is Golbez. Breaking a Golbez and threatening another Golbez that can also break to bring in more 2-drop forwards is just insane. You can also run the Hero Golbez, which is a better attacker with the other 2-drop forwards because it helps you get through the damage. It's able to dull a forward or deal AoE 3000 damage to your opponent's side of the field. There is going to be an ongoing theme with Magic Pots, and that is you're going to have your cake and eat it too. And Golbez exemplifies that. The next type of play that you can do is any card that has into the field and or into the break zone effect, which includes what I call the Prince of the Magic Pot, the legendary Zac, which is able to give 2000 power to everything as well as search for a cloud and put it on the field. Just insane value. Other cards is Setzer, which is going to dull and freeze a forward and search for another category 6 character. And this Magic Pot with Genesis Avatar is going to be a cheap 7CP board wipe on your opponent's side of the field, and you gain a 9000 power forward. The next interaction I'll be looking at is just increasing the value of the card. This is evident for cards like the 2-drop Tifa that is great early on, but later on the game you want something stronger like the 4-drop or the 5-drop Tifa, and this Magic Pot makes that a reality. The other increasing value card is the 4-drop Sephiroth that can be turned into the 8-drop Sephiroth, which inadvertently also has an enter the battlefield ability. This type of effect can also be seen with Prish, Vaughn, Kane, and even more. In addition to these interactions, Magic Pot is able to save your forwards from breaking as you can use it in response. I also really like it because it's sort of fake activation that is in Earth. Say they dull and freeze your Zac and you know that next turn they're gonna go for damage. You can use Magic Pot on Zac to bring in a new Zac, which is active now, and Cloud onto the field, which might as well be the hero like Cloud for Opus 4, to deal 7k to one of their forwards. Okay, I think I've spoken too much, but I promise you there will be more in our next podcast coming just over a week from now. Thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Have a look at our channel. We're building to cater for all sorts of Final Fantasy TCG players, from the Chocobo Academy for beginners to the deck profiles and the potato playbooks for everyone to understand, and our podcast, which is both for beginner and advanced players. Also, I'd like to give a quick shout out for Band's Final Fantasy Corner on Facebook and the Final Fantasy TCG North America page for all of the spoilers. Number 1 Potato Boss, out.